There's definitely a huge disconnect when it comes to people not knowing where their food comes from.
It's opening up taste buds for new foods, new flavors.
It's very important to know where your food's coming from, to know if it's come from your neighborhood or if it's come from far away. All of those things lead into the nutritional value and also the taste.
Farm to School is an amazing program that has grown a lot across the country and in New York State. So the Cafeteria is a learning space for students as well as the classroom and the community, and that it all comes together to teach youth how to appreciate where their food comes from.
It's so important to just even have the kids know that potatoes come from under the ground, kale's grown above the ground, your apples come from a tree, food, fiber, shelter, all those products come from farmers. Some of these basic things that has kind of been forgotten. And it's just part of knowing a little bit of that connection of what it takes to get the food to the table.
New York State is the second largest producer of apples in the United States, right behind Washington State. And we have a great growing region here in the Finger Lakes. We grow 200 acres of apples. We have right around 30 different varieties. We grow apples for fresh market, the juice processing market, and then even the hard cider market. What makes this area so special to be able to grow apples is being so close to the lakes.
The flavor and liking your vegetables can be a pretty different situation if you have fresh produce right from the farm.
I think it's just a whole ecological approach to understanding the whole food system and that food comes from nature.
It's very humbling to know that you're feeding all of these school children.
Hi everyone, my name is Julie Harrington and I work for Wayne Finger Lakes BOCES. Today we're featuring apples from Red Jacket Farms. We have some honey from Wixon's Honey Stand, and we're using kale from Wiley Fox Kale Farm. So we all know how important sanitation is when it comes to fresh vegetables. You see I have my gloves on to keep things protected. Also, anything that grows from the dirt after it rains and it gets picked can be very, very filled with dirt. So you take it and you're plunging it so you can hear, you can feel what's happening there. After you do one sink, you would plunge your kale again or shake it around in the water. Make sure that there is no dirt in the bottom of your sink. That's how you know when your vegetables are truly clean. Here we are, we're ready to prepare our apple kale salad. I use an apple core. I push it all the way through, pull it out, no seeds or anything. Then what I do is I cut my apple in half. So you've got two beautiful halves of an apple. And this is how we're going to dice the apple. Depending on the size of your apple, you're looking for maybe a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch dice. I cut this particular apple into 5 slices, and once I get them into the 5 slices, I cut them down twice. In order to keep your apples white, it is imperative that you hold it in acidulated water. Acidulated water is water with lemon juice in it. We are using real lemon from the jar. Fresh lemon works even better than this, much better, cleaner flavor. We also have to create the kale that we need in this recipe. Kale has a big stem in it, and we want the children to really be enticed by the kale. We're hoping the color will entice them, the way that we chop it. So the way I do it is I cut one side down and then I cut the other side down, and I try to remove all kale that I can use so that you're going to have this stem for your compost. When I take the kale and I get the core out of it, I put it in a pile and I'm going to try to roll it. I have it in a cigar-shaped roll. When you're using sharp knives, remember, fold your fingers in, make the claw hand, and you'll never cut yourself. When you slice, listen, I'm not going nice and easy, nice and peaceful, nice and smooth. You know, the more love we put into our food, the better our food is. So what we end up with is a very finely chopped piece of kale. This is going to be a major part of the salad. So now, you have your apples in the acidulated water. You'll notice they're keeping their color. They're not turning brown, which is called enzymatic browning, and that's okay because you can control it with lemon juice. We also have in this recipe some dried cranberries. You could use dried cranberries or you could use raisins, but what's the most important thing is that you soak them in a little hot water so you plump them. so they don't end up being too small and chewy and sticking to everybody's teeth. You plump them, a lot more juicy. It will actually help with the dressing that we're going to make. We are making an emulsified, or really a suspension dressing. You will see as I pour this into the bowl, because this is when I started, it's not quite clear. Sounds a little watery, but it's actually a little bit thicker than water because of the honey in there and the oil that we are going to emulsify together. I'm going to put about a 1/4 cup of lemon juice. I'm going to drizzle about another 1/4 cup because this is sweet and sour. What you're trying to do is balance the sweet and sourness of the lemon juice and the honey. Okay? So, with a whisk, you could also use an emulsion blender. Does things a lot faster. I'm going to use the whisk for this small batch. When you're making like a quart, I think the emulsion blender would work great. So as I'm mixing my honey and lemon juice right now, I'm going to wet a towel. Got the towel on my cutting board. This is going to help me be able to mix the olive oil into the dressing and help keep it emulsified. So you kind of get your whisk going a little bit and you dribble, 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 dribble. If you notice that it's not mixing, you've got too much oil in it and you might have to go back. So, little bit at a time, little bit at a time. We also thought, it's not in the recipe right now, but we thought maybe some poppy seeds in this recipe would go really, really well. That would actually make it a little bit more high-end. We have our apples that have been diced and are in the acidulated water, okay? So, I'm going to put in about 3 cups of apples here. The acidulated water is delicious, okay? Don't waste that. I put just a tiny bit in because that has apple and lemon flavor in it. It's fabulous. So 3 cups of apples, and then I am going to use 1 cup, 2 cups, 3 cups. This recipe I'm going to try 4 cups of kale. And if you notice, when you start to fluff it together, the kale is small enough to match with the apples. It's all going to fit on the same bite. So then I'm going to add to this batch about 1 cup of the plumped cranberries. Look at the color they add. Look at that. That is just awesome already. Love the way it looks. A little bit of tossing. It's getting prettier and prettier and prettier. And we are going to fill the kids with some delicious nutrients when they decide that they are going to eat this. In all good things, there's always just a tiny pinch of salt. It enhances flavors, even vegetables. So, I'm going to drizzle about 1 cup of dressing onto this particular salad today. I am going to toss it. Make sure that it is nice and blended, because if you don't get any of the sauce, salad's no good. Right into a bowl. We'll be scooping it into a portioned cup of some sort. Here we have a beautiful kale, apple, cranberry salad with a nice honey dressing. Doesn't get any better than this.